Harry Douglas, who's usually here with us on Thursdays. He's down there covering that game.
Okay, Harry.
All right. So we'll see if there's a That Boy Bad. How are you not covering that game? You live across the street.
I know. They wouldn't even have to give me per diem.
This is my point.
Because he's an elitist and lives in Fairfield County, Connecticut now.
Is Harry having dinner over at the house tonight?
Yeah. He's got to walk the dog, and Ella's home. So yeah.
Did you let him use your country club membership?
Yeah. Which one?
All right. And with that, we welcome you back to another hour live here of Get Up. We are brought to you by Patron. Perfection starts with Patron. Huge hour of football conversation. Let's do it. Bold predictions for a big weekend in the NFL. D Wood, give me something bold.
How about the New York Football Giants beating the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh my God.
Because I need a bounce back. I need a bounce back from the G-men after what happened down there in New Orleans. And I think, listen, as much as we've been talking about Philadelphia and all their vulnerabilities, I think my man, Tommy DeVito, I think he comes back and gives them boys the business, man. Come on.
Things will get ugly in Philly.
Danny, give me a bold prediction.
Bold prediction. Matthew Stafford throws for 3 touchdowns tonight on Thursday Night Football versus the New Orleans Saints. Talked about Kyron Williams in their run game and how good Puka, Nakua, and Cooper Kupp are with the blocking. But there is no quarterback in football throwing the ball better than Matthew Stafford. He is so hot right now. 3 touchdowns tonight in a Rams win.
You're 100% right. No one is talking about the Rams or how well Stafford is playing. Keep an eye on them tonight. Mike T, give me a bold prediction.
The Dallas Cowboys are going to win 35-28. Reedy, you may not know this, but somebody was dumb enough last week to say that the Cowboys weren't going to punt against Buffalo. It wasn't Dan, by the way, that said that.
Of course not.
Yeah, but we went into that game saying how great Dak Prescott was playing. Dallas's offense is going to bounce back. That's going to help Dallas's pass rush. They're going to win on the road.
I'll give everybody at home just a little peek behind the curtain. Look, we all sit up here, we make predictions, we hope that they're right. Like anyone else, sometimes they're wrong. As that game was going the way it was going, I could not stop thinking about you, Mike. I was like, oh my goodness. Because we've all been there. Like, God bless you, Josh Allen. Ever since I jumped on the bandwagon, you're the best player in the NFL. It's working out very well for me. That said, let's talk about this game here.
Yeah.
We just talked about it from the Miami side of things. Let's talk about it from the Dallas side of things. They lost last week because they couldn't stop the run against Buffalo. Can Miami do the same thing to them?
Absolutely. Mike McDaniel, 2 years ago when he was coaching with the San Francisco 49ers, coached against, in many ways, this Dallas Cowboys defense, and it was very clear of how he wanted to try and attack that. Respect for the aggression. He's going to use it against you. They're going to do toss counter. So one thing with toss is you get the defense flowing from one side of the field all the way to the other. And then you motion that fullback as a lead guy and wrap him back around where he comes from. Watch the second level for Dallas' defense. You're trying to get them to flow one way, and you design the cutback. That is not vision from the back. That is a designed cutback. Number 2, you try to take the flow and kind of build it into your pass game as well. Ball fake one way. Maybe this is the pistol or the shotgun for Tua, and you have a man-beating route, a crosser versus man coverage. Look at the defense. You're trying to get that defense's speed and aggression and use it against them to create easy throws for your quarterback. And then the last thing is the perimeter screen game. If you go back to the Jets game last week, respect for the defensive line, perimeter screen galore to start the game. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to get spread 5 wide, make the defense cover sideline to sideline, anticipate some form of a pressure, and then you throw away from it. If this is Tyreek, this is a touchdown this weekend. Mike McDaniel is very equipped to understand in a respectful way how to attack this Dallas defense. You're going to see a ton of motion at the snap, something Miami does more than anybody, something that the Dallas Cowboys defense struggles with immensely. You're going to see a ton of man coverage. No quarterback in the league guts man coverage more than Tua Tagovailoa, and you will see a ton of runs to the left side of that formation. Why? Buffalo, who we all know dominated in the run game last week, is the number 1 run team when it comes to running the ball to the left of our offense. Number 2, the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh. So that the strength there seems to line up.
This is strength on weakness.
And we don't have a defensive player on our set today, but Marcus, when he was here yesterday, was making the point. No one's calling the Cowboys soft. That's not what this is. It is about every team has a strength and a weakness. And what their weakness is, plays directly into, or I guess in this case, plays directly out of what the opposing team's strength is. So how do they stop it? If you're the Cowboys and you don't go up 14-0 in this game, which you can't count on, what does their defense need to do so that all those things Dan just so perfectly showed us don't wind up happening to them again?
Yeah, listen, I always said, my saying has always been, you got to earn the right to rush the passer, right? And it starts on early downs for the Dallas Cowboys. What you're going to have to do, Dallas is kind of light on the defensive side because they're so fast. That's what everything is predicated on, is speed, and you know, teams know how to finesse that type of defense. I think you got to do some run blitzes, stuff like that, to kind of fill in some of these gaps that you leave uncovered because you're constantly moving around on the defensive side of football. Most importantly, they got to get to a situation where they're able to rush the passer. You got to stop the run on first and second down. You got to somehow get Miami behind the sticks. Yeah. That's easier said than done, but you got to do that.
I think Mike McDaniel takes the defensive line out of the game.
What does that mean?
Early downs, you're going to see tons of motion, tons of reverses, tons of over-aggressive things from the defense, tons of perimeter screens.
That's what you do. And what Dan is talking about is the way when we talk about defensive lines, you want to get them tired. The one thing you want to do with a defensive line, get them running sideline to sideline and wear them down, because guess what? When those guys got to run sideline to sideline, guess what they can't do? Right. They can't rush the passer.
Right.
So that's what Dan is talking about with the Miami Dolphins.
I think the key is Stephon Gilmore. We go back to the Philly game. He made some big tackles in space against A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And to D-Wood's point, what's Dan Quinn going to have to do? Commit more to the run game, Greeny. They're going to have to hold up on the back end, which is hard to do with Waddle, assuming that Tyreek Hill.
That's going to be tough.
But if Stephon Gilmore plays the way he did against the Eagles, he does on Sunday, that is going to be a big impact.
I want to translate this for people who are in their fantasy playoffs and do other sorts of gambling and fantasy-related questions. I feel like you're forecasting a very big day for the Dolphins, but I'm trying to gauge if you're telling me Mostert and Achane are going to go nuts or Tyreek and Waddle are going to go nuts.
How you want it? That's the unknown. If they are going to do what Mike T is kind of intimating, like, hey, you're going to have to put more bodies down at the line of scrimmage.
Then Tyreek, right?
Good luck with that.
It'll be night Irene with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Now, if they're going to try to play with some coverage commitment, it's going to be a heavy Mostert, heavy Achane game when it comes to their diversity in the run.
Dan, what you're minimizing, though, is what can Dallas do really well? They can rush the passer. So even if they go 8-man spacing, I'm sure Miami's going to hit some home runs, but I'm sure Dallas is going to get home a couple times too.
No, I have a ton of respect for the Dallas Cowboys pass rush. I've called it for the last 3 years. Their third down pass rush is the best play in football. When I've watched Mike McDaniel, and I even asked him, because the thing coming into the season about Tua was what? Health.
Sure.
He's been hit less than any quarterback in football. Literally, was that purposeful? And he laughed at me. He said, of course it was. The ball is going to come out so quickly. He never, we always say Bill Belichick forces you to play left-handed. Mike McDaniel does that in many ways as well. Defensively, I'm never going to allow you to do what you want to do.
In Tua's case, it would be right-handed because he's a left-handed. But I understand the point you're making. Very quickly, let me go to the other side.
Yeah.
The best thing the Cowboys can do for their own defense is to play this game from in front.
Sure.
So talk to me about that matchup, the other side of the ball.
So Cowboys offense, Miami defense.
Yeah.
I think the key to the game will be Jake Ferguson. So you're not going to have a ton of success against Miami's defense throwing at Xavier Howard if he plays and Jalen Ramsey. You got to work those linebackers and/or safeties. The problem with Dallas versus home and away is this. When Dallas is at home, Dak is a cheat code. He's so smart, and his understanding of defense is so elite that he goes to the line of scrimmage and he uses his voice inflection. Wood knows this. You get to the line of scrimmage, hot, 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 hot. You try to get the defense to tell you what they're doing. All right, hey, the guy off the edge is blitzing. We're going to run away from it or something like that. So you use your voice to control the defense. On the road, they don't. The defense controls how and when they move. That's what happened in Buffalo. Dak didn't know exactly what was going on. If you just pay attention to these two clips, second downs, Dak at home would be hot. He would realize the nickel's pressuring, the safety's coming down. He would never hand this ball off to an unblocked guy. But on the road, because he can't control the body language of the defense, well, there's the tackle for a loss. Second down in the red zone. At home, hot. oh, here comes that safety, check, and then here we go. Well, on the road, he doesn't get to do that because the crowd noise and there's a silent cadence, another unblocked run or a run to an unblocked defender. That's the downside. He doesn't control the defense on the road in the way that he does at home.
One last point. Last week, when the Miami Dolphins played the Jets, Jalen Ramsey basically shadowed Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson didn't even have a catch until the second half.
Yeah.
Like he did. Like I could absolutely see them doing that with CD Lamb. So my thing, you know, your whole point about Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, those guys need to come alive in this type of game, because if Jalen Ramsey is shadowing CD Lamb, that could be a tough day.
Having watched the Jets offensive line play last week, I'm not sure that's a good example for any